بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا وشفينا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وصل عليه والصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا خاتم النبيين. Honorable and respectable brothers and sisters, elders, lovable youngsters, parents and students of knowledge, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today's discussion in fiqh is in relation to tayammum. Those of you who are watching and who have regularly been following and watching the lessons on YouTube, the Al Hikam Media YouTube channel, and have been writing whatever we have mentioned, studied, discussed in your notebooks, then make sure you've got your pens and your notebooks at hand. So tayammum means dry ablution. Tayammum means dry ablution and is another way of purifying ourselves, like performing wudu or ghusl. But tayammum is a substitute for wudu or ghusl if water is not available. Aside from water not being made available or water not being accessible, there are also six other, or should I say 5 other scenarios and cases where tayammum is performed instead of wudu or ghusl. So 6 in total. The first being that there is no water to be found within a 1 mile radius. So those of you who are writing this down, write it down. Number 1, tayammum is performed instead of wudu or ghusl when there is no water to be found within a 1 mile radius. Number 2, a person is very sick, is very ill, and fears that the use of water will cause more illness or harm. So if somebody is ill or sick and they feel by using water they'll become even more ill or sick, or they'll come into harm, then performing tayammum is allowed. Number 3, a person only has enough water for drinking but not enough for wudu. So the third reason that allows us to make tayammum instead of wudu or ghusl is that person who has enough water for drinking but not enough for ablution. Number 4, a person is late for a funeral prayer or Eid prayer and fears that they will miss that prayer if they perform wudu. So these are the only 2 types of prayer. For the other prayers, it does not apply. But for funeral prayer and Eid prayer, because there is no substitute for them, then making tayammum is allowed. Number 5, a person fears that they will be attacked by a snake or any other animal if they try to fetch water for ablution. So if you have access to water, but between you and the water, you are afraid of being attacked by a snake or a beastly animal, then making tayammum is permissible. And number 6, 6 cases in total where tayammum is performed instead of wudu or ghusl, is the water is very cold and there is no way to heat it, whilst it is considered highly probable that using the water may cause harm. So in these 6 cases, it is allowed and permitted for a person to make tayammum instead of wudu or ghusl. Okay? So make sure you've written these 6 down and that you are aware of when tayammum is allowed and when it is not allowed. So we mentioned that tayammum means dry ablution, and it is another way of purifying ourselves like wudu or ghusl. And we mentioned the 6 cases and instances where performing tayammum instead of wudu or ghusl is allowed. Just before we come on to how we make tayammum and what are the fara'id and the sunan of tayammum, also make a note of this, that there are certain surfaces upon which tayammum is permitted. Yes. Certain surfaces, certain materials upon which tayammum is permitted. Number 1, soil. Any type of soil of the earth is permitted to use in order to make tayammum. Number 2, sand. Like we find sand on a beach or at the seaside or in a desert. Sand is a surface upon which tayammum is permitted. Number 3 is dust. Dust. Number 4, stone. And number 5, brick. So soil, sand, dust, stone, and brick. Make a note of this, that tayammum is not permitted on wood, glass, metal, food, or any item which burns to ash, rots, or melts, such as plastic. So there are certain materials of the earth which are used in order to make tayammum. They are permitted to use in order to make tayammum, and there are certain materials which you can't use. So 5 you can use. We mentioned soil, sand, dust, stone, and brick. Make sure you've written these 5 down. And then there are certain materials which cannot be used. It is not permitted to perform tayammum on them, such as wood, glass, metal, food, or any item which burns, rots, or melts like plastic. Similarly, all the actions which break the wudu, the ablution, also break the tayammum as well. And if one performs tayammum due to an illness, it will break as soon as the illness is cured. And tayammum breaks upon finding or regaining the ability to use water. So let's say you've made tayammum, you're reading your salah, and somebody comes and places water next to you. Regardless whether you're in the 4th rak'at or in the 1st rak'at, you will break your salah, you'll use that water, you'll make wudu, and then you will start the prayer again. Yes, so tayammum is a substitute, it is a deputy, it is a na'ib to wudu or ghusl with water. So if water is available, which is the asl, then that is preferred over tayammum. Okay? Those of you who have been watching regularly will know and remember from previous discussions that wudu has 4 fara'id and ghusl has 3 fara'id. Last week we discussed how to perform and make ghusl. Those of you who missed that discussion will find the video in the playlist on the Al-Hikam Media YouTube channel. And in the first week, 2 weeks ago today, we discussed how to make ablution wudu. Yes, so the full discussions and the practical of making wudu you'll find on the playlist. So today in tayammum, understand that there are three fara'id. Yes, three fara'id. Three fara'id to tayammum. Three fara'id to tayammum. Let's write these three down. Number one, making the intention before performing tayammum. So to make intention, to say the niyyah, this is a fard of tayammum. Number two, striking both hands and performing massa of the face. And number three, striking both hands and performing massa of the arms, including the elbows. So very simple. There are only three fara'id of tayammum. Number one is to make the intention that you're going to make the tayammum. Oh Allah, I intend to perform tayammum in order to offer such and such prayer, in order to do such and such act of worship. Number two, striking both hands and performing massa. Massa means to wipe. Yes, we're not washing here, we're wiping the face. And number three, striking both hands and performing massa of the arms, including the elbows. So these are your three fara'id of tayammum. Like this, we have certain acts which are sunnah acts when performing tayammum. So number one, write this down. We begin by reciting the tasmiyah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Number two, we maintain the sequence as mentioned in the Quran, meaning face first, then arms. Number three, continuity, that there should be no delay between each step. Number four, we strike the surface, the five surfaces that we mentioned which are permitted to perform tayammum. We strike the surface firmly with the palms of the hands and we shake or blow off the dust or earth. Number five, we spread the fingers when performing the striking on the ground. And number six, we rub the hands on the surface by first moving them towards the front, moves them forward, and then towards the back, move them backwards. Okay? So in total, we have 6 acts which are sunan acts of tayammum. 3 fard and 6 acts which are sunnah acts. 9 things in total. We conclude the discussion. We mentioned what tayammum is, the 6 instances and cases which permit tayammum instead of wudu or ghusl. We mentioned the 5 surfaces that you can use in order to make tayammum and those surfaces which are not permitted. We mentioned some miscellaneous rules regarding tayammum, and we've just mentioned the 3 fara'id of tayammum and the 6 sunan of tayammum. 9 things in total. To conclude the discussion, how to perform tayammum, 5 simple steps. Write these 5 steps down. Number 1, we begin by making the intention to perform tayammum. Yes. Number 2, we strike both hands on a surface like sand or soil or one of these surfaces that we mentioned. So when you're striking your hands, make sure your fingers are spread and make sure you strike it firmly and that you move your hands forward and back. Yes. And make sure you've got the material of that surface on your hands. Yes. When you lift your hands off the surface, you either dust them off or you blow the excess off. This is the second step. The third step for making tayammum is that you pass both hands over the face once, making sure the area between the forehead and the chin and the area between the 2 earlobes, both earlobes, have been covered by the hands. Number 4, we strike both hands on the surface again for the second time. And then number 5 is that we wipe both arms up to and including the elbows once. Yes, like this. First the right arm and then the left arm. And that's it. That is tayammum. Yes. Extremely easy and straightforward. Nothing complicated. But the likelihood of making tayammum is very remote, especially as Muslims living in the West. By the grace of Allah Almighty, we have access to running water, clean water, but there might be an instance when tayammum is necessary, when you are not able to make wudu or ghusl, and this is why we are having the discussion. Hopefully you found this discussion beneficial. If you did, then please make sure that you subscribe and share this video. Subscribe to the channel. Allah Ta'ala bless each and every one of you, and Allah Almighty keep us firm upon our religion. Inshallah, next week in fiqh, we'll begin by looking at the times of salah and look at the disliked prayer times, and also the number of units that we perform for each prayer. So we will do these things next next Thursday in fiqh, inshallah. Tomorrow, which is Friday, we'll be looking at the life of the companion Sayyiduna Uthman Ghani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and we'll also be mentioning a short hadith sharif, a reminder. Allah Ta'ala grant us all steadfastness upon the deen. Remember me in your prayers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.